In this video, we're going to talk about 3 things you need to know when learning to dance West Coast swing. What's up, gang? It's Brian B.
And Miss Megan.
From West Coast Swing and Line, and in this video, we're going to be talking about 3 concepts that you need to know when you're learning to dance West Coast Swing. If you are an intermediate/advanced dancer watching this, these are 3 concepts that you need to master to get really good at West Coast Swing. So this is going to be a video that I think everyone can get a little bit out of. So the 3 topics we're going to be covering from a basic perspective when we're learning to dance West Coast Swing and from an advanced perspective are number 1, connection. Number 2, the fact that West Coast Swing is a 2-beat increment dance. I'm going to explain how that's going to demystify a lot of things for you. And then number 3, we're going to talk about anchor steps because that's the core of West Coast Swing. And all of us, when learning to dance West Coast, have been told to anchor away. So we're going to talk about that. First things first, let's talk about connections. So in West Coast, there are 2 different connections that we have to master. We call this, and there's a bunch of different names. We tend to use the terminology away connection or towards connection. Technically, this would be a tension and a compression, but you will hear teachers not want to use the word tension in terms of our connection, so they'll call this leverage and compression, but I think the technical definition would be tension and compression. We bypass all that mumbo jumbo when we just used towards and away. So what do we mean towards and away? Well, our centers, like the mass of our body, either needs to be moving away from our partner or towards our partner to communicate a lead and to feel a follow, right? So as the leader, if I'm in my good anchor step position, we'll talk about the anchors in step 3, I'm moving my center away and Megan can feel that elasticity through my arm, right? So we need to master this away connection. So what I like to do, and maybe you've got some drills that you use with your students, Megan, we create an away connection, right? And I lean into this. Now, when I lean, I don't want to lean shoulders and I don't want to lean all hips, right? So I want to lean both equally so I can keep everything stacked up. So to kind of practice this, we get a little wide stance, we connect away, and if we're away, we should be able to drop our hips and stay connected. Does that make sense? It might feel when you're doing this like you're sticking your butt out. I know that students tend to want to feel the away through their shoulders, right? And then they do this and it pulls their partner, right? I get very heavy. So as a little drill, I connect away and I use my hip weight or my center of my belly button pulling away from each other, and we should be able to sit down quite a bit. That's the away connection. Then we're going to do the same thing into a forward connection, right? We're going to lean in. Now, again, you don't want to lean too far over the top in the shape of an A.
Butt heads.
Yeah, you'll hear teachers talk about the shape of a V for the away connection and the shape of an A, and that might be a good thing to think about, right? The away might be more shaped like a V, and the towards might be more shaped like an A, but in reality, you're probably an H.
Yeah, an H that has slightly weird angles on either side.
A little flex in and out. Cool? So we want to keep our fingers curled underneath. That's the main part, because I've seen people master all of this. Center moving away, lats connected, nice tension in the arm, and they forget the fingers. So the fingers alone are going to be part of that. So that's number 1, connection is away. Number 2, connection towards. Any other thoughts on your away and towards connection?
A good way, I'm going to use you as a wall. Well, the mic pack makes it a little hard. A good way to work on that connection back is going against a wall and trying to line up your whole spine on the wall. That's going to make you feel kind of having your connection back through your core and not having your shoulders or your bum against the wall. You want the whole thing.
Cool. Now, for you advanced dancers, that's the key. The away connection is probably number 1. The towards connection is number 2, right? Everything starts in this away connection, but we have sugar pushes that use the towards connection. There's also a more advanced one that allows you to get to a lot of the cool rotational stuff you see the top level dancers doing, and that's a rotational connection. So if we use a rotational connection, if Megan were rotating, right, she would rotate into a connection. And she would rotate into a connection, right? So those things would be used like we did a pattern on the channel where Megan rotates away into that connection. You get that stretch with a rotational connection. Now, I would not say if you're a beginner that that is something you need to know or have to know, but if you're an advanced person, advanced dancer, leader, or follower, I want you to pay attention to those rotational connections. Those are things like this, where Megan's rotating one way, rotating the other way. You're rotating into those connections. So that is a third one going on number one of the things you need to know when you're learning to dance West Coast Swing. You need to master your towards and away connection. If you want to be brilliant, you need to master your rotational connection. Number two is what? Megan can't read the board.
I can't.
2-beat increments. West Coast Swing is done in 2-beat increments. Now, if you're a newer person learning to dance West Coast, this is mind-boggling because you say, well, we have 6-count patterns and 8-count patterns, and then I can extend them to 10 and 12-count patterns. How do I make heads or tails of that? An easier way is to count the dance in 2 beats. I'm going to give you an example. If we danced a sugar push and a whip, 2 basic patterns we all know we're learning to dance, we'd count it 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Pretty standard. You advanced dancers, we're not talking about musicality, just counting the patterns. But then that doesn't match the music. Another different discussion, but let's talk about the 2-beat increments and how that'll help calm everything down. If I counted everything in 2 beats, then I would count my sugar push like this. 1, 2, 1, and 2, 1, and 2. I count my whip like this. 1, 2, 1, and 2, 1, 2, 1, and 2. So as I scale up my patterns to 12 and 14 count patterns, I would keep that same 2-beat increment going. 1, 2, 1, and 2, and 1, 2, 1, and 2, 1, and 2. So it will always work in 2-beat increments. So that's either going to be 2 walks if we did our back to the camera. If we did the right foot, we'd either be doing 1, 2, 1, 2, or if we did triple steps, we'd be doing 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So you're going to have walks and triples for your basics when you're learning to dance. And if you think about it in 2-beat increments, that's a great way to help people, we found, stay on time. Thinking about those 2-beat increments. Now, the advanced dancers really stretch those 2-beat increments and they're almost impossible for you to see, but I promise they have a mastery of the understanding of the 2-beat increment. All swing dances, for that matter, are 2-beat increments, right? Like East Coast Swing, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, it's the same thing. Cool? So that's number 2. Number 1 concept that you need to know is understanding your away and towards connection. Number 2, understanding the 2-beat increments of the dance, especially as beginners to sort out staying on time, and as advanced dancers to sort out those advanced patterns. Number 3 is what?
Anchor steps.
The anchor step, because everything in West Coast, we've all been yelled at by our instructors to anchor
away.
Away. What the heck does that mean? So I want you to understand this. Typically, when we learn in a beginner class, the anchor step is a triple step, but technically it's not. Here's what I mean. We would dance 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. Everyone would think of this last triple as my anchor step, and that is correct, right? If we did a whip, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. This last triple, 7, and 8, we would count as our anchor step. That is correct. The more important concept to understand is that we need to anchor
away.
Where is away? Away means
away.
Away, right? It does not necessarily mean I need to do a triple step. Here's what I mean. Let's say we bypass the triple, we just drag it out and step. We did a sugar push. We go 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, right? I did not do my triple. I hung out for 5, and I connected away for 6. So a better way to think about the anchor is a connection away, 2 centers moving away, creating elasticity and stretch. So whether I'm doing a sugar push off of a basic handhold, I'm looking for that away feeling, right? Now here I have to manage my arms and my connection from number 1, right? Point number 1, our connection. But it's the same thing, even if I was in closed position, it's just more difficult, but my center's still moving away to create that. Now Megan had a good drill. Can you recover that drill? I'm gonna do the wall.
If you had an actual wall and not a person,
kind of built like a
when
wall.
you do your anchor, or even just the last step of an anchor, I would be a little bit away from the wall, a little bit. so that you have some room to actually pull all of your back against that wall. So maybe half a foot, you put your foot down and reach back with your whole back, not one part or the other. You want all of this to touch.
Cool.
Obviously, the small of your back probably won't touch, but you want to make it feel like it does.
Yep, so we want to master that away connection. So let's cover 2 points, one for like beginners learning to dance West Coast swing and one for more advanced dancers as a concept. So for beginners, a good rule of thumb is that if you dance a pattern 1, 2, 3, and 4, that you want to tuck my right foot as the leader away from my left foot. So my right foot is back, Miss Megan's left foot is back. Why? Because if that foot is back, by definition, it's going to cause my center to move away. It's going to cause my anchor position to be solid in my connection, which leads into part 1, which is we're now connected. So as I go through part 2, my 2-beat increments, I'm able to lead the patterns and Megan's able to feel them, right? So we need to start every pattern in that connected position. That's for beginners. Good rule, every anchor, tuck that behind. We find a lot of our students and otherwise will mess that up, including us, where that anchor creeps a little forward. Now, from an advanced perspective, that can still be a valid anchor. Here's what I mean. If we danced something and we ended up, I don't know what's going to happen. We go 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, right? So I am not in my correct anchored position, right? I've done some variation to my footwork. So is Megan. But we are anchored by definition. Why? Because my center's moving away. It doesn't even matter what foot I'm on from an advanced perspective. Megan's kind of on the wrong foot, right? But she knows that she needs to catch up. Oh, 1, 2, off we go, anchor step, right? So from an advanced perspective, you're just looking for that body weight moving away. If you can manage that, it doesn't matter where your foot is. It doesn't technically even matter what foot you're on. Now, beginners, it does for you. You got to know the rules before you break the rules, unlike my childhood where I just sort of broke the rules and figured it out afterwards. But
not my childhood.
Yeah, no, not true. Actually, so we're very much in terms of fundamentals, but what you'll see from advanced people is they understand the fundamentals so deeply that they're able to stretch them in ways that beginners often can't understand. So if you're learning to dance West Coast swing, 3 things you need to focus on and master is your connection. We've given you a couple drills to do that. Your away connection, your forward connection, and from an advanced perspective, your rotational connection, which will really jazz things up. Number 2, you want to think in the dance in terms of 2-beat increments. A really good drill, pick a pattern like a sugar push and just dance it and count. I'm going to count, then Megan's going to count. 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2.
1, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2.
Oh, 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2.
1, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2.
That makes sense? So even as the patterns level up, it's still 2-beat increments. From an advanced perspective, that's where you'll be able to, if you embed that 2-beat increment and that kind of counting, which can be out loud to begin with, and then eventually it just becomes internal, then you can stretch those where we don't actually always dance 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. We dance 1, 2, 1 and 2. So you can start to play with that. And then, of course, good etiquette for all of us. We end each pattern with an
away connection.
An away connection, which is our anchor step in West Coast swing. So those are your 3 concepts when you're learning to dance West Coast swing, whether you're a beginner or beyond. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Maybe even do us a favor and share it with a friend. And if you've not yet been to West Coast Swing Online, I suggest you go over there, enter your email address on the first page. You'll get a free membership to the basic membership to the site, and we will send you lots of really cool stuff. We have 400 blog posts. We have gajillions of cool videos we send out every week to our email subscribers. So thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you, Miss Megan. Thank you, JT behind the camera. And we will see you again on a dance floor again soon.